even using methods that derive from experience in other countries does not give you a correct picture. So whatever figures you will see are just going to be an estimate, and the actual amount of contributions is likely to be higher. But using a modified IMF model, we have managed to find that remittances, it's almost equal to total exports of Sudan post-oil. It's unfortunately not sufficient to cover the entire shortfall on the trade front, because the shortfall on trade has exceeded $4 billion ever since 2012. And this shortfall has been putting a lot of pressure on the exchange rate. As a result of that pressure on the exchange rate and government efforts to keep prices of essential commodities low in order to avoid having even higher inflation, we have ended up with substantial subsidies that are difficult to maintain. But at the same time, they're also very difficult to remove, and we've been following the debate that's going on right now in the country about how best to go about removing those subsidies in a way that does not impose further hardship on people who are really suffering a lot already because of the high inflation that we have witnessed, particularly since January 2018, when the government of the day, based on bad advice, suddenly raised bread prices twice, and also at the same time raised the price of all imported goods by raising the valuation of customs, and suddenly shot inflation up in 1 month substantially, and we had problems getting down from that. And since then, inflation has been averaging 60%. Now, for Sudan, for a new Sudan to be built on the needs and aspirations of the Sudanese people for development, you need maximum policy independence. Without that, there will be no choice but to submit to the conditionalities that typically go with loans from the International Monetary Fund. And if you submit to conditionalities, your chances for actually developing the country and growing the country would be very limited, because we have seen that those conditionalities typically lead to further recession, produce higher levels of unemployment, increase poverty. Eventually, they may lead to something, but until you get to that eventuality, there will be a lot of suffering. But by relying on remittances from the Sudanese abroad, by working aggressively, and I know that we've had discussions with the government of Sudan all the way up to the level of His Excellency the Prime Minister about improving the use that is made of remittances. And I think by having a concerted effort by all government entities, we can make sure that, inshallah, following the removal of Sudan from the SSTL and regularization of banking operations, which would remove the constraint that people have in terms of sending the money officially, there'll be more money coming in quite clearly and obviously, and also the amount of remittances can be increased and be directed to productive purposes. What we have found through our work at the micro level has been that, unfortunately, because of lack of a good business operating environment in Sudan, the funds that have come which over a 10-year period come up to something close to $30 billion. It's a lot of money. I mean, you can do a lot with that money. But those funds have been mostly used to complement consumption. And that in itself is actually something to be valued highly, because the reason why we do not see very high levels of obvious poverty in this country is to a great extent because of the generosity that the Sudanese people have. And I have worked in multiple countries, okay? I have not seen the level of social solidarity that exists among the Sudanese anywhere. And this is something that you need to be very proud of and try to maintain it. And it is for maintaining that social solidarity, which is why you have to be exceedingly careful in increasing the costs of transport for people, because I mean, we did a study of poverty in the Khartoum state in 2018, and we found that already, because of rising poverty, people were having difficulties in maintaining their social obligations. And when you cannot maintain your social obligations, when you cannot go to visit your better off friends when they are in a difficult situation, then you cannot go to them at a time of need and ask for assistance. And this kind of thing doesn't figure anywhere in any of the models that we economists put together. And you can put no monetary value on maintaining social solidarity and social links. So it's very important to make sure that whatever is done to remove the subsidies, which I understand are not sustainable, is done in a very careful manner and does not negatively impact the ability of people to maintain their social links. So that's very critical. But in addition, because of the bad business environment that has been ruling in this country, whatever excess amount of funds that the Sudanese outside have had beyond what is needed to keep their family and friends staying above the water, they have invested in real estate. Now, investments in real estate, unfortunately, do not add anything to the country's productive capacity. And I was in Sudan at an earlier period between 2001 and 2005. At the end of my time here, we presented a report to the government of the day and asked them, and we couldn't tell them, and asked them respectfully to use the oil resources that the country had to invest in agriculture and not allow appreciation of the exchange rate to completely destroy productive sector. But they did exactly the opposite. When I go around the city and I see the change that has happened between 2005 and now, I can see how the resources that could have taken this country to a level where it deserves to be have been wasted in loads of white elephant buildings all over the place, and a huge number of vehicles that now require imported fuel to keep running and imported spare parts to keep running. So unfortunately, our advice was not taken. That chance was missed, and by 2008, non-oil exports went down to below $1 billion. That's the extent to which the productive structure of this country was destroyed during the oil boom. But now we have a chance to build a new Sudan. In building the new Sudan, you need maximum policy independence so that you can decide whatever is good for your country rather than being told by anybody from outside how to run your affairs. And to do that, we need to have an ever stronger linkage between the Sudanese inside and outside, so that you rebuild the country with your own combined effort. Do not fall into the prey of suddenly opening up and allowing foreign investors to come without checks and balances, because the first foreign investors who will come after the country has opened are going to come in search of huge profits, and you will end up seeing more of the resources leave as profit repatriation than as investment. That already seems to have happened, unfortunately, with the telecom sector, where right now, given all the problems we have with foreign exchange, the profit repatriation that is taking place by those companies is putting further strain on the limited amount of foreign exchanges that you have. So foreign investment, yes, but the right kind of foreign investment. And you can build that structure, that investment of Sudanese. And we are looking into into different formalities, and we'll be discussing with the government the best system and structure that can be put in place in order to attract investments from the Sudanese outside, make sure that those investments are properly looked after, properly accounted for, because I do understand from our interactions that unfortunately many of you who have tried to invest in the past have seen your investments go sideways and you're left out of pocket. So we need to make sure that there is a proper system to follow up to make sure that those investments actually take place and are accounted for. And that's something I think we can do together with the new government of Sudan. Thank you very much.
بنحلم بفضاء أوسع، بنحلم بزمن أجمل، بلاد ميلاد، بلاد ميلاد،